And one thing that I really appreciate about this campaign, um, we're already there. I love giving quotes and completely forgetting who said the quote. I am absolutely notorious about that. But I someone once said that the more specific you can get, the more universal you are actually becoming in terms of what people can actually latch onto and kind of project themselves onto.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to know, what was the process in finding the specificity around the Agree to Agree campaign? Because on something like gun violence, that is so often politicized, that is so often thought of as a binary yes no issue,
Mm-hmm.
speaking in general about it can really turn to fade into the background quickly. So I would love if you could unpack for our listeners the process of finding specificity in larger societal issues, just like you did in Agree to Agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first off, everything that we do at the Ad Council is based on research, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
do anything, we don't put any pen to paper until we understand the insights, the issue, the target audience, what make them tick, what makes them motivate to do the actions that we want them to do. So, on this campaign, we knew that when we look at the statistic that gun injuries are the number one killer of kids, that we need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
How we were going to do it was a blank piece of paper.
Right.
We started knowing that our partners in this effort is healthcare. And that was really intentional because it helps us when we bring healthcare in to continue to depoliticize, right? These are doctors and
Yes.
nurses
Yeah.
that see this crisis come into their clinics and the hospitals every single day. So we knew that we were starting from a place of neutrality and starting from a place of kind of credibility. So from there we go, okay, let's go talk to the American public.
Mm-hmm.
Let's understand what's keeping them up at night when it comes to gun violence. How does it impact them personally? What do they think the solutions are? And whether they think the solutions are effective. So it was a pretty wide ranging questionnaire. We did qualitative, we did quantitative. We talked to, we talked to parents, we talked to adults without children, we talked to teachers, healthcare workers, gun owners, non-gun owners, social workers, Gen Z, just to cast a wide net. Because again, blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
We didn't want to assume. We didn't want to take our bias, because there's a lot of bias on
Yes.
this issue, unconscious or conscious,
Yeah.
right? And we wanted to kind of just go, let's be research based. Let them tell us what it is. So we didn't go in thinking we were going to land and Agree to Agree, right? Common ground was a thing that came out of the research. We went, oh my goodness, gun owners and non-gun owners, they agree. Red states folks, blue state folks, they agree. When you center the crisis around children
Mm-hmm.
and protecting our kids, the conversation starts to become easier. And to your point about specificity, what we realized was also that a crisis of this magnitude, right? It is complex, it is nuanced. There isn't one size fit all,
No,
right? You talk to a gun owner differently than if you would talk to a non-gun owner on this crisis. And that is just natural, and that is, you have to meet people where they are,
Yes.
right? So through the research, what we learned is while there is so much common ground, we do have to talk about it slightly differently when we talk to different audiences.
100%.
So out of the gate, we have two specific audiences with different messages. One is parents. We're talking about kids. Parents are really the ones that care the most about children, and their children and other children in the community. And when we say parents, we also mean grandparents, aunts and uncles, neighbors. Those
100%.
anybody that has like children that they care about.
Accountability and
Accountability,
responsibility,
exactly.
connections, 100%.
Right. And for them, one, we just want to say, hey, learn about this issue. Just understand the scope of it and how it impacts you and your community. But then also, let's start having some conversations. And don't be scared by it, because we agree, right? That's where the Agree to Agree comes in, is leaning into the idea that talking about guns and talking about gun safety and the things that surround this issue doesn't need to turn into an argument.
Yeah.
We can have productive, civil, interesting conversations about it that could lead to solutions. I have an anecdote that I really love sharing.
Please.
When we were doing research, and some of the research were qualitative, like one-on-one researcher to a parent or researcher to a gun owner, and it's an hour. So we cover a lot of grounds, taking a lot of notes. And the recording turns off at the end, at the end of the hour. And that's when the interesting thing happens,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. The conversation.
The conversation
right,
happens
yeah.
when the mic is off.
1,000,000%.
And you turn the mic off, and I swear to you, like 7 out of the 10 conversations, they go, "Thank you so much for giving me this space, a safe space to talk about it. I know you weren't judging me because this was research, and I know that I could just tell you how I feel. And sometimes I feel like in our lives, you don't get that opportunity. You always feel like someone's judging you, and you don't have that safe space." And we heard it over and over and over again in these one-on-one interviews, and we were like, there's an insight there that people just are aching to talk about it, and wanting to be a part of the solution and wanting to take part. And so the specificity started there, was you got to give people something to do. And whether that's start a conversation, whether that is securely locking your gun so that your kids can't get access to it, all of that comes from the audience telling us how they feel and us saying, great, here's what you can do.
That is so incredible, because just the thought of it, that people, like, due to politeness or not wanting to make ripples, are not speaking about something this important.
That's right.
Their kids' safety, like the number one killer of kids. That is a striking insight. And I don't mean to, like, put the aperture wider. That is something every marketer needs to sit with right now, is that people aren't just holding things that they think. They're holding things in that they have this need to say. Like, creating space.
Yeah.
I don't think marketers view that as something that they can provide value to all that often. But this is absolutely that.